Hey everybody, Lee with LG Speed Kustom here. We pushed pretty hard on the Comet the last few months. Got it done, got it on the road. Does burnouts like you guys all saw. But what does that mean for the rest of the LG fleet? Let's go take a look. Our beloved 1947 Ford Sedan. First gear, second gear, third gear, broken. Brown sugar, our trusty workhorse, a staple in the LG fleet, one of the favorites in the LG fleet. Good truck. Broken. Broken. This is supposed to be this way. Not broken, but not right. The oldest member of the LG fleet, my Model A Roadster. What a great car. Love this car. Broken, no brakes. Not sure where they went. They did work, and now they don't. And if we get all that stuff done, the Comet, the one that we just finished, the burnout machine. Not quite entirely 1000% finished, but still works. So that's what we're going to take care of in this video. A little bit of maintenance on the LG fleet. Got to keep our cars running. Starting with brown sugar, because that's one, probably the easiest fix, and two, that's an important one, because that truck, it works here. It makes money. So we got to keep it going so that we can keep making money. After the truck, probably dig into the 47. That happened 19 days ago now. It's been 19 days that car's had no third gear. Otherwise, it still runs and drives fine. Still take Doris to the park every day in it. We just take our time getting there now. After that, probably tackle the brakes on the Roadster, and then if that's all done by the end of this video, then we'll take care of that coil bracket on the Comet. Let's move this thing out and bring brown sugar in. That's quite the drip, isn't it? For everybody that's not familiar with this truck, this is brown sugar. This is my 1972 Ford Crew Cab Dually. I bought this truck probably 6 years ago now in Campbell River, which is on the north end of Vancouver Island. It was just a completely unrestored original truck at that point. The original owners bought it in the Yukon, Whitehorse in the Yukon, way up by Alaska. And it was a civilian truck, not a railroad truck. Most of these early crew cabs, they were either like railroad trucks or logging trucks, but this was just a civilian one. They had a big camper in the back, so when I got it, the tailgate was missing, but otherwise it was just a nice, clean, original truck. Because it was a civilian truck, it had a lot of extra creature comfort and amenities that the railroad trucks may not have had, such as carpet, power steering, power disc brakes, C6 automatic transmission, and the really nice wood grain dash and door panels and stuff. Under the hood, it originally had a 390 with a C6, and we have since upgraded that with a P-pump 12-valve Cummins and a 47RH automatic overdrive transmission. There's an entire build series on YouTube if you look under my playlists on putting this Cummins engine in here. Worked really well. It was a really nice swap. We didn't really have to cut anything. It's still the stock firewall, stock cross member up front. Worked pretty good. The back of this truck it's actually been completely chopped off. I chopped the frame off behind the cab and back half the entire thing with a late 90s Ford pickup rear section, which gave us a dual rear axle. These trucks never ever came as a dually. If you had a dually truck, it was a cab and chassis truck, meaning it just had like a flat deck on the back, or like when you bought it, it never came with a box. It just whatever you wanted to put on the back. All the ones with a box were only available in single rear wheel. So this is being upgraded with a dual rear axle or dual rear wheels with a Sterling 10 1/4 rear end. It's got a bigger sway bar in it now. It's got a way heavier spring pack so that it can take the weight. We tow a 24-foot enclosed trailer with this thing. Because they never came as a dually, the dually fenders, these are actually from I think a 1980 to 96 Ford dually pickup. And I just narrowed them down. I think I narrowed 8 inches out of them to get the gap from the tire to the fender to match the front. When I back halved it, I Z'd the entire frame 7 inches. This whole truck is lowered 7 inches all the way around, which gives it its nice stance. The great thing about Z'ing the frame in the back is it still has all its original suspension geometry. So even though the truck is lowered, it can still tow and handle a load just like an original truck. You may have noticed when we were backing it in that the floor is raised up, and that's because with the frame kicked up like that, the entire box floor has been cut out and the box has been channeled 7 inches over the frame to get the body lines to line up right. The inside of the truck, like I mentioned, it was the fancy model, so it's got all the wood grain accessories in here. Both the front and rear seat I have reupholstered in a period correct diamond pleat pattern with piping and inserts that match the exterior of the truck. Also did some matching floor mats. We've got a couple accessories in here. We've got a period correct fan to keep the back windows clear in the wintertime. We've upgraded to a classic auto air conditioning system. This AM radio is actually just there to fill a hole in the dash. In the glove box, we have a Bluetooth stereo system that you don't even need to see it. It just automatically connects to my phone. And last but not least, we've got some gold leaf brown sugar done on the glove box here, and that was done by my friend Manny at Sacred Hands Pinstriping. And last but not least, before we dive into fixing this thing up today, I just want to point out we've got a new shirt design with brown sugar. This was done by Christian Head of Headlines Pinstriping, a good friend of mine. Awesome pinstriper, great musician. He's in the wrought iron haulers that we play here all the time on this channel. So if you want one of these shirts, check out lgspeedkustom.com and pick yourself up one. Let's lift this thing in the air and take care of that transmission leak. Well, here's a discouraging start to the day. My dropped I-beams that I have in here, as I was just jacking the truck up, they buckled. They buckled under the floor jack. I had the floor jack underneath here, which I have done for Oh, let's see. My dad was a big Ford truck guy. And that's where I got my automotive start, was helping him in the shop work on his trucks. So I've been around lowered Ford trucks my entire life. 30 years I've been working on them now. And I've always just put the floor jack under there. Never ever had an issue until today. And they buckled. So I know there's some dropped I-beams out there that there's a rumor going around on the internet that they'll bend. These are not those dropped I-beams though. These are the ones that right in the ad says, do not bend. Well, they bent. So that's super discouraging. They were expensive. They were $1,000 for these dropped I-beams. I think probably we might be able to fix them if we take them out and put them in a press, straighten them back out, like a big press, super big press. Straighten them back out and then maybe reinforce along here with some more plate. It's probably my fault for putting the floor jack under there. I should have had it under this cross member. But like I said, I've been doing it for years and I've never ever seen I-beams bend like that from jacking it up. But, I mean, that Cummins engine is probably a lot heavier than the 390 that was originally in this truck. So that's, if I was to put money on why it happened, I would say that's probably it. This, we're not going to worry about today. That's a can of worms. Let's just stick to what we were originally going to do, fix that transmission leak and a couple other things, and this will be a project for another day. Well, somewhere in here, we've got one nasty transmission line leak. I think I'm going to take some brake clean here. We'll clean this all up. Then maybe start the truck and see where it's coming out. Hopefully it's just something as simple as like a loose hose clamp or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Alright, we got some cardboard under here to catch some of this mess. And not one, but 2 cans of brake clean for double the cleaning action. Yeah. Well, that's all cleaned up. Let's fire this thing up and see where it starts leaking from. That's it right there. Hopefully it's just as simple as tightening this hose clamp up, or maybe loosening it off, sliding the hose on a little further. I think we can fix that. We got a couple cranks on that with the screwdriver and snugged it up quite a bit. I just cleaned it off with some brake clean. Let's fire it up and try it again. Transmission leak sorted. 1 win for today. Next thing on the list we're going to tackle is these tailpipes here. Now I know I said earlier that they're broken, but the situation isn't actually that they're broken, it's that they're not hooked up to anything. Those tailpipes are from when this still had the gas 390 in it. I cut the exhaust off at one point when I pulled the old engine and transmission out, and when we put the Cummins in, we put a whole new 3-inch exhaust system down the passenger side. But I never ever got around to actually taking the rest of the exhaust system off. So it has just been hanging here the whole time. This hanger actually broke. So yeah, we don't need that in there anymore. Let's go ahead and take this out. tailpipes are done. Another small win. Now we're gonna move on to something a little more fun. I'm a huge fan of Canadian automotive stuff. I'm talking about like Mercury trucks, Meteors, Monarchs. My Model A Roadster is done all up in Monarch stuff. It's got a Monarch flathead in it. It's got Monarch wheels on it, Monarch steering wheel. Along with Canadian cars, there's also Canadian trucks. And my dad, he was a truck driver, and the favorite truck that he had a 1974 Hayes Clipper. He loved that truck. He put a 8V92 turbo in it, 10-speed main with a 4-speed auxiliary, twin sticks in it. Man, all he ever talked about was that truck. It burnt to the ground, unfortunately. He had a fuel leak that sprayed on the turbos, and truck burnt down. So this truck, when I bought it, it used to have Western Star mud flaps on it, which, I mean, they were kind of cool. When I took it apart to do the dual rear axle swap and see the frame and everything, I just had them laying out back against the fence, and one day they disappeared. Somebody, I guess, saw them there and wanted them more than I did, so they disappeared. I've always kind of been looking for mud flaps to replace those Western Star ones, and I always thought it'd be super cool to have Hayes mud flaps. For those that don't know, Hayes was a big truck company based out of Vancouver, BC. They built highway trucks, but they're mainly known for logging trucks. And here on Vancouver Island, big logging community here. So they're pretty popular. There's a lot of them still in service, even though Hayes has been out of business for decades. So I started casually looking for Hayes mud flaps. I'd see truck guys and be like, hey, you got any Hayes mud flaps? And they're like, oh, I don't know, man. If I see some, I'll let you know. Finally, one day, I just put an ad up on Marketplace, a wanted ad for some Hayes mud flaps. And 2 hours after, some guy messaged me, not far from here, and he has a pair of NOS. These have never, ever been, these holes are not punched. NOS Hayes mud flaps, date stamped June 12th, 1972. So they're totally period correct for this truck. They got the Hayes bear on them, just that little bit of Canadian automotive content that I nerd out about so much. So we're gonna put these on this truck now. I got one kind of mocked up here. We'll build some brackets and hang these things. I've just cut some square tubing, the same size as the mud flap here. I'm gonna lay this over top now and use a transfer punch to mark my holes. Transfer punch is this, they come in all different sizes, but this size here is the same size as the hole in the mud flap. And then this side has just a tiny little point. So you can put your piece over top like that and mark your center hole. Like so. Now we've got all our points to, oh, that one got a little weird. We can fix that. But we got all our spacing now so that we can drill some holes and bolt these up.
I see a red door and I want to paint it black. No colors anymore, I want them to be black. I see the girls about dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes. I see a line of cars and they're all painted black, with flowers and my love all gathered to the mat.
We've got all our holes drilled in here, and I've got 2 more holes drilled in the ends, and they go on, there's some factory little brackets right here. So they bolt in there. And I just cut 2 uprights. That I got one side tacked already. And the other one will get tacked on about there. And that goes up to a brace in the floor of the box. And that should hold it.
I see a red door and I want to paint it black. I know colors anymore, I want them to be black. I see girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. Why have to turn my head?
There's the driver's side all bolted in. And here we've got the passenger side mocked up and bolted in enough that I know it's going to fit. From here, I guess we can take them off and paint them and then put them back on. Why are we going to paint them? I have no idea. You see this frame rail right here? 4 years ago, this was all sandblasted and painted. It looked so nice, and now you can't even tell. Which is why I'm wondering why I'm going to waste paint and paint these, because they're not going to look painted after a year. That's what happens when you drive your cars all the time.
I see girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes. I see a lot of cars and they're all painted black, with flowers and my love both gathered to come back. I see people turn their heads, quickly walk away, like a newborn baby, it just happens every day. I look inside myself and see my world is black.
While we're waiting for this paint to dry, let's open a package. I got this box the other day. This came from Marty Griffith in Martinsville, Virginia. So let's see what he decided to send. There's somebody else got a hold of me a while ago, DodgeMan61, asking for my address to send me something. And I don't know if Marty is Dodgeman or not. Dodgeman has not told me his name, and this package doesn't say Dodgeman anywhere on it. I emailed Dodgeman back asking if he was Marty, and I have not heard a reply. But we got a note in here. Hey Lee, after I saw you cutting the hoses on the Mercury, I had to send you one of my favorite tools, the Craftsman Handy Cutter. It will cut radiator hoses, heater hoses, vacuum lines, fuel lines, windshield washer hoses, garden hoses, fan belts, rope, vinyl upholstery, plastic trim. The list goes on and on. I use mine all the time, and I'm just a shade tree mechanic, so I'm sure you'll get lots of use out of it. Marty Griffith. Awesome. So I'm assuming that he's talking about the video it was a comment video. I was cutting, I think, heater hoses using this knife with an incredibly dull blade that is still in it, because I'm that kind of person. So let's see. Oh, wow. Look at this. It's got a leather holster. That's fancy. Oh, man. Put your finger in there. This is too cool. The handy cut. Well, now we have to cut something. I gotta find a piece of hose. Let's go get some hose. Found a little chunky heater hose here. Oh man, that cuts all right. Holy crap. So I'm sure I'm gonna use this piece of hose in the future, and it's gonna be this much too short now. But wow, that is too cool. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this. Oh wow, it even comes with more blades too. Awesome. This will come in incredibly handy, and I will make sure to keep my fingers out of there. Jim, if you're watching this and you're using this, watch your fingers, man. Okay, well, thanks again. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. Are these dry yet? Oh, they're getting there. They are almost at the point where they'll leave fingerprints. So I don't know, maybe another. I'm almost out of coffee. Maybe we'll finish our coffee and then throw those back in. They're all bolted in. That worked out really nice. Got big fender washers on this side so that they don't pull through. Let's put this thing on the ground and see how close they are. I used my micrometer, and according to my micrometer, they should be close to the ground, but not quite touching the ground. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, perfect. Just perfect. I think at that height there, when the trailer's loaded, they'll just tickle the ground, which I think is hilarious. All right. Well, that's done. Well, the only thing left on our list is to clock the steering wheel. I don't think I'm going to worry about that right now, especially if we're going to be pulling this whole front end out anyways to fix those I-beams that I wrecked. I'm so disgusted with myself that happened, but we can fix it. It'll be fine. So yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. The other thing I wanted to do that I didn't actually write on the list was I wanted to repaint the back bumper. I think I'm going to pause on that as well. It is the end of the day and I've got some customer cars sitting outside, so this needs to go out and they need to come back in. Then tomorrow morning we're going to bring the 47 in and figure out that transmission issue and hopefully not break anything else on it while fixing that. Day 2 on the LG fleet maintenance video. This is my 1947 Ford Sedan. All you regular viewers of this channel know this car very well. This is kind of the car that I started making YouTube videos with. But for those who don't know anything about this car, well, here it is. This is a basically unrestored 1947 Ford Sedan. My friend Rob Wilson bought this car at the Portland swap meet. I don't exactly know when, but it was quite a while ago. He brought it up to the Surrey area in the lower mainland of BC, and it bounced around to quite a few different people there. Eventually, my other good friend, Ross Galitsky, he got it, and I bought it off of him. When we first got this car, it was basically a shell that had an engine and transmission in it and a stock unrestored suspension underneath it. It had absolutely no interior. The dash had nothing in it. It had a couple screws holding the dash in place. It was kind of basically mocked up for the way you would sell a car at a swap meet, like bolt it together and sell them the dream. So I got the car off Ross, and Shannon and I went to work and we got it roadworthy. The first thing we did was we got it fired up, running off a jerry can, made sure the engine ran okay. And then from there, we rebuilt the fuel system, rebuilt the brake system. I completely rewired the car. There was no wiring in it, so I rewired the whole car from scratch, headlight to tail light. And then we built a whole interior for it. Let me show you that. So here's the interior here. This seat started off as just stock springs. There was no fabric or nothing on them. The bottom is actually completely custom built. There's no springs left at all. And then I just sewed up a Naugahyde tuck and roll seat cover for it. Made all the quarter panels, door panels, kick panels, built all that. These are all upholstered on ABS plastic so they don't warp from our moist Vancouver Island winters. Full loop pile carpet in it. The dash is fully restored, sandblasted it. My friend Rick, he painted it Washington blue, and then Shannon and I put it all together. And yeah, it's been a very good, reliable car. This car gets driven every single day. Whenever we go on road trips, this is the car that we always take. Nice and reliable.
Everybody's heard about the bird. I said the bird, bird, bird. The bird is the word. I said the bird, the bird. The bird is the word. I said the bird, bird, bird. The bird is the word.
The front suspension has a dropped axle and a reversed I spring. I wrote an article for Canadian Hot Rods magazine when we did that, and it showed how to reverse your spring eye. Basically the same theory as we did a video on my 32 Ford where I dropped the axle and reversed the spring eye on that. Same thing on this. Otherwise, this front end is completely stock. It's still the original 47 Ford brakes. It's still unsplit stock wishbones, stock steering. The stuff all works great. It's perfect for what this car does. This isn't a road racer, so it doesn't need all the high-tech, fine tuning capabilities that modern suspensions offer. It just goes down the road, and this suspension takes it down the road.
Bird is the word. Haven't you heard about the bird? Well, everybody's heard about the bird. I said the bird, the bird, the bird. I said the bird.
Rear suspension, once again, it's completely stock. I've never even had the rear end out of this car. I just made sure it was full of gear oil, and that was it. It's still the stock spring in the back, stock torque tube. To lower it, all I did was make new spring shackles that were 3 inches longer, and that dropped the spring mounting point down 3 inches and drops the body down 3 inches. Super effective, really easy way to lower these cars. Handling wise, I've never noticed a difference. It handles exactly the same. So 3/7/8 gear ratio, stock 3 on the tree, which is what we're fixing right now. Is currently it's only a 2 on the tree. We got to figure that out. But yeah, works good. Under the hood, we have a completely stock 59A flathead. All I've done to this since I got the car from Ross was did a carb rebuild kit, did a tune-up on it, new points and condenser, thermostats, rad hoses, plug wires. I put a Power Master Power Gen 12-volt alternator on it. They make it's pretty cool. It's an alternator, but it looks like a generator. Otherwise, this is just, I've never even had the heads off this car. I just cleaned it up in the car, gave it a quick rattle can paint job. A Craigslist rebuild, as one might say. It runs awesome. It doesn't use any oil. It's never left us stranded anywhere. It's just a nice, good, reliable old engine. Perfect for what this car does. I think we're ready to lift this car in the air and dig into that transmission issue. I'm hoping it's just as simple as the shifter fork is jammed on something. I don't know. We'll get into it when we drain the oil out and pull the side cover off. Before we do that, I just want to point out that we do have a new shirt design on this car. I think I mentioned it briefly in the last video, but for those that haven't seen the last video, Christian Head, who did the brown sugar shirt, also did one on the 47 Ford. So if you want one of these, once again, check out the website, lgspeedkustom.com. Let's put some overalls on and get underneath this thing.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. I said the bird, bird, bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, the bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, bird, bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, the bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, bird, bird. Said the bird is a word. I said the bird, the bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, bird, bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, the bird. The bird is a word.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that's fairly new. For those that watched the video when we drove this car to Portland a couple weeks back, you'll remember that these shifter forks or shifter linkage bushings were completely wasted. So when this issue first happened, that was my first thought, is that those shifter arms jammed up on something. Quickly pulled the car in, lifted it up, and I realized it's not. In fact, we took the shifter arm right off, and you still can't move it. So I think we'll drain the oil out and see about pulling that side cover off. Hopefully the side cover comes off. There's not a lot of room in there. There's about that much room before it hits the pedal assembly. I would assume that there would be room to pull it off. Why would, you know, an engineer you think would design the side cover to be able to come off without taking the transmission out, right? Right? This isn't a BMW. Let's drain the oil and take the cover off, see what happens. I have no idea how old this gear oil is. It's probably the same gear oil that was in the car when Rob bought it at the Portland swap meet. I just checked that it was full, and I've kind of never gone any deeper than that. Oh, gross. Can you guys smell that? It smells terrible. So many pretty colors. I don't know if that's brass. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing or something that we're just going to ignore. Probably just going to ignore it. Well, here we've got first gear, neutral, reverse. First and reverse could be backwards on that. I'm not exact. I think that's how it goes, but it doesn't matter. Here we've got the other shift gate, and we've got second gear, neutral, and it is clearly hitting something that won't let it go in the third gear. So let's pop this side cover off. There's only that much space between that and the clutch pedal here. So I don't know, I'm sure it'll be fine. Probably not. But all we can do is try. I think I'm gonna pull this carpet back and take the toe board out, because it'll just be so much easier to work on everything that way. And when I put this carpet in, I kept in mind that, you know, someday we might have to work on the transmission, so I didn't glue it down. Wow, look at that. So much space for activities. I don't know why automotive manufacturers moved away from the removable toe board. It's such a brilliant idea. You know how long it took me to get to this point? I don't even know if it was 15 minutes to pull the seat out and peel the carpet back and get to here. And look at this. We can sit right down on a nice comfy carpet. We could probably do a full transmission rebuild right in there. Well, maybe not, but I mean, it's a lot easier than what we were working with before, laying underneath the car. Gonna pull this side cover off now. I've talked about it enough. It's time to do it.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. I said the bird, bird, bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, the bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, bird, bird. The bird is a word. I said the bird, the bird. The bird
right, all the bolts are out. Let's see if this will come out. Well, that was actually pretty easy. Will it come out? No, I don't think so. But we might be able to get in there enough to see what is going on. So if you hold your tongue right, this will come out. Got it out, washed it up in the parts washer, and everything looks fine. It's working the way it's supposed to. These click through all the little indents there. So we know it's not this. Looking inside the transmission, we've got our first and reverse. Works fine. But our second and third, I can't get to move very nicely. So I got the persuader. I'll get in there with this thing and see if I can get something to break loose. Well, I think I've figured out what's wrong with this thing, and I don't think it's an easy fix. So we've got our second and third little, I don't know what you call this guy, the thing that slides back and forth on the synchro there. And it will slide back nice into second, but it will not slide into third. It just stops right there. So if I slide this back, look at those teeth on that synchro ring. They are just absolutely munched. And I think it is so munched that this piece will not slide on them anymore. The other thing I've noticed, let me put this back in the neutral position again, is this little synchro ring here. See how it turns? If I slide this back, the one for third gear does not turn. It is locked solid. So maybe that's part of it too. I don't know. I am not a transmission expert. If anybody watching this video knows more than I do, please chime in and let me know. But I'm pretty sure that that synchro ring is what's causing our issue, and it probably needs to be replaced, which means we probably need to pull this transmission out, which means either taking out you gotta slide the rear end back because it's got a torque tube right here. So you gotta slide that back enough that you can get the transmission out. Or option 2 is pull the engine out and have the transmission come out with it. I'm thinking probably slide the rear end back would be the easiest one. I think we'll pull the rear end back. We're gonna undo these 4 U-bolts right here, and then the spring will be loose. We'll have to undo our shock mounts, which are pretty easy. They're just those little pieces of plate right there. I'm assuming we'll have enough give in that brake hose that it'll slide back enough. I don't know. I mean, worst case scenario, we got to undo the brake hose and then bleed the brakes. We can do that if we have to, I guess. And the last thing we'd have to do is undo this emergency brake cable, which probably isn't a bad thing because it's always been like this as long as I own the car. I'm not the one that did that, but when we put it back together, we can probably do something a little bit better than that. So let's undo some U-bolts, I guess.
Well, I made a little stop on the way home from work. You know that place just drives me crazy. Yeah, that boss, he's such a jerk. Was on his happy hour. Yeah, I started feeling mighty fine.
Rear end came back. All we got left now is we gotta undo this clutch linkage down here, take these bolts out, and then wrestle this thing out of here.
Well, my mouth, it just ain't working. You know my vision's getting blurred. I'm a preaching from my bar stool, but my sermon isn't heard. My friends have all abandoned me, 'cause I reek of alcohol. The floor is looming up at me.
Here's the situation. Cars are stupid. Do yourself a favor, go buy a gray Toyota Corolla and take up golf. Golf, that's the answer. The situation with this is the transmission will not slide back far enough to get the input shaft to clear the pressure plate. Probably should have pulled the engine. Sliding the rear end back is not the answer. But what I don't understand is I've done this before. I swapped a transmission in a 46 Ford. Actually, it was a Monarch, 46 Monarch. And dropped the rear end back. Transmission came out, new transmission went in. Rear end went back in. Bada boom. I don't know what's up with this one. I don't know if I'm just not holding my tongue right, or I don't know. The problem with the Monarch was that was like 10 years ago. So I don't remember exactly how it was done. I think I'm going to sit here and scratch my head a little bit and maybe wiggle this way and wiggle that way. And maybe pull the motor out. I'm tempted. If this motor and transmission comes out, man, that 390 that came out of my truck, that'd be so cool in here. Be a lot faster. I don't know. That's ridiculous. That's making a can of worms that we've already opened into an even bigger can of worms, and I'd rather get my 32 done. So I don't know. I don't know what to do at this point, except for keep struggling with it. Eventually it'll come out. Gray Corolla. I think I got it. Took the U-joint off the back, and I think we'll have enough room now. Oh man, it's so close. I might have laughed too soon. Oh man. I knew it came out. I knew it would. You know what I'm not excited about is putting another one back in. Whew. All right, let's get this thing out of here. Great Toyota. As if.
You know that place just drives me crazy. Yeah, that boss, he's such a jerk.
Well, I don't have any parts to fix this or another transmission. Actually, that's a lie. I do have another transmission, but it's a 39 style top loader with the shifter on it, which would work in this, but then I would have to cut a hole in the floor and I'd lose the 3 on the tree, and I really like the 3 on the tree. I called, there's the former president of the early Ford club in town, Chris Chown. He has a transmission for one of these that he's been trying to give away for years. So I'm gonna call him. Actually, I have called him. I'm gonna try to call him again because I haven't heard back from him and haven't been able to get a hold of him. So that's option A. Option B, Larry Gould really cool guy that lives up in Crofton, he bought 8 transmissions off me about 2 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that 3 or 4 of them were the exact same as this transmission. See, you hoard stuff for years and years and years. I carried those transmissions everywhere with me. I moved 3 times and carried all of those transmissions with me. One of the moves was like almost 2,000 kilometers when I moved out here to Victoria. Brought those transmissions with me, and finally one day I was like, you know what, I'm tired of tripping over these. I gotta get rid of them. So Larry came and bought the whole package, and now I need one. Oh well. Okay, I'm gonna clean up because it is pretty much park time for Doris on Saturday evening, and there's a customer supposed to be dropping a car off tomorrow at some point, and I don't know when, but it needs to go here. So we need to clean all this mess up, get the rear end sitting back in there. I'll probably just put the U-bolts in and call it good, and put this thing back on the ground so that if he does show up, I haven't heard from him, so he might not. I don't need the car until Monday, but if he does make it, we need this spot available. So let's make this thing movable again. Rollable, pushable. Well, I have to say this weekend didn't quite go as planned. I was hoping to get the truck fixed, the car fixed, the Roadster fixed, and possibly a little bit of work done on the Comet, and we didn't really do any of that. I mean, we got some stuff on the truck fixed, but we also broke some stuff on the truck, and this, what I thought was going to be a 10-minute fix, turned into a huge can of worms, and we're looking for a transmission now. Or, I mean, I can always put synchros in that too. I guess I could just rebuild that one. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with this yet. I'm just gonna wing it, I guess. Whatever, if a transmission happens to fall on my lap, bonus. If not, then we can always fix that one. Or, I mean, maybe we'll put the 390 in this, why not? I also have an LS, we could put an LS in it. Whoa, easy, easy on the, everyone's all, yeah, click, 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 click. All the haters, LS. I'm not gonna put an LS in it, don't worry. But yeah, so not a successful weekend, but you know what? Not every weekend in the garage is successful. This is just kind of the way it goes when you're building cars. You have wins and you have loses. In this situation, we had a couple more loses than wins. But you know what? We can figure it out. Next weekend we'll start fresh, and who knows what'll happen. Maybe we'll get everything done next weekend. Doubtful, but you never know. The important thing is just every weekend get out there and do it, and eventually it all happens. So, on that note, I think we're going to conclude this video. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to Hot Rod Hullabaloo for all the music on this. They're from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Go check them out at hotrodhullabaloo.com. And as always, if you want to support this channel, please check out the website. Right now, kind of need some support. This weekend was hard, but so yeah, if you want to check out the website and grab yourself a shirt or some stickers, that would be so awesome and super appreciated. It's so exciting. Every time I would get a little boop, 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 you got a new website order, I'm so stoked about it. So thank you everybody that's supported the channel and the website. So anyways, next weekend, I don't know what we're gonna do. I might work on a 32 next weekend, just because I really want to keep going on that car as well. But I don't know. There's never ever gonna be a weekend around here where there's nothing to do. I have endless content for you guys. It's just gonna, as long as cars still exist, it's gonna keep coming. So we'll see you guys on another video. Thanks for watching. One more thing before I go. Next weekend, we'll be at the Grand National Roadster Show. If you see us there, make sure to say hi.